Wait, are you are you gonna count me in? Whatever. I'm just gonna go for it. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. And they're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast.
Now here's your host, Amy Singleton, the queen of realness, leading conversations about business, life, and the real shit you want to know.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and today we are very blessed to be joined by Queen Miss Dorothy Enriquez. She is the owner of the Ellevate Collective, and she is currently coming to us from Texas, America. Welcome, Dorothy.
Hey, hi friends. Glad to be here. I'm excited. I cannot wait to get into this chitter chat.
Me too. Like, we have a lot to chitty chat about because this is the Queen's Lead podcast. You are specifically in the leadership and development space. You have a new book. I'm so excited to hear about that. And the first thing that caught my attention was what does it say? Be accountable and fabulous. Exchange the pair of victim glasses for a sassy pair of
accountability glasses.
Accountability glasses. I love that. I speak so much about taking personal responsibility for the crap that's happened to me or that I did myself. So I can't wait to get into this conversation. So tell us first, who is Dorothy? Who are you as a woman?
Who am I? So I will do the who am I times 3.
Yeah.
So I am someone who, if there is not an opportunity for me to be creative, I'm most likely going to walk away. Personal, professional, creativity is important to me. And I came to the idea that I was creative far later, like in my 20s. I was like, oh, maybe I am creative. But
okay.
I was like, I'm not creative at all because I come from a family of tangibly creative individuals. So for me, I am someone who values creativity. I am someone who believes that even if I lose it all, I can get it all back. And so as a result, I am relentless. I am persistent. I am tenacious. And
yes.
I've lost it all more than once. And so
you're literally the tenacious Dorothy. That's what's up.
Okay. Yes. So
already we're going to pull out the crown. I love that. Tenacious. Great word.
Yes. So I know if I lose it all, I could get it all back and then some.
Right.
And lastly, I am just someone who really values the power of faith and believing in something bigger than me. And that is what has been able to sustain me and keep me going for years, even when I didn't think like I had any more go in me. So it's a little bit about me as a woman.
Oh my gosh. That's so great. And something that every woman should aspire to attain, because that's when the magic really starts to happen. When you know, like, I've been there, done that. I've suffered enough. I've lost it. I can get it back. And then some. I love it. You said, and then some. That's what's up.
Yes. I always recover more than what I lost. So yes, I'm not afraid of losing it all. It's not fun.
No, it's not fun.
No, it's not fun at all. But I know that I can recover all.
Yeah. Because Lord, do you learn? Do you learn?
I say, listen, and the hard way, you won't be repeating it like that. You might repeat it, but it won't be like that.
That's right. That's right. It's an opportunity. I love that. So tell us how did the concept of the Ellevate Collective come to be? And what were you doing before that?
Oh, so look, that is quite the story. Let me see if I can give you like the 4-minute version.
All right. I love it.
The way that this all initially started is that when I was in college, I was noted as one of the top 10% of leaders in my school. And I was like, really? Because I just thought I was doing what everyone else was doing. As a result, myself and the other 10% of the top leaders all got pulled into this secret class, SWAT, black ops, all the things. And so we were pulled into this 1 year long class. And of course, in college, all your classes are semesters, not this one. It was a full year of everything leadership development, all the foundational piece, all the principles, the fathers and mothers of leadership, all things leadership. So I go through this program. It's absolutely incredible. The only miserable part is that it's at 7 a.m. every Thursday. Like I could have just jumped out the window because like I'm not a morning person, never have been. Never. So I do this program. It's incredible. It blows my mind. And then I don't think about it for years. And I'm going through my career in training and development, instructional design. And I mean, I think components of leadership creep up, but it's nothing notable until towards the end of my career when I am in a formal leadership development role. And so I'm in charge and part of the process of disseminating leadership development to the entire organization. And then it becomes a global position as well. So now I'm in this formal leadership development role, and all of this stuff comes back to me like, oh my God, I know this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me pull that out of my old memory bank.
Exactly. Pulling it out of the memory bank. And a lot of people were like, wow, you haven't been in this space that long. You have a natural knack for this. And I realized, like, yes, I do have a natural knack for it, but it's been deposited and it's like a medicine cabinet. I didn't need it, but now I need it. I'm going to go in the cabinet and get what I need. And so from there, I was in various versions of leadership development roles for about 5 years. And during that time, I went into a formal leadership program specifically for Black leaders in Milwaukee. And it was at the opening retreat that I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do this for myself. A lot of people had told me, over the course of that 5-year time frame, like, you could be doing this for yourself. And I'm like, no, I can't. What makes you think that? Who is going to hire me? Who is going to pay me? Like, how am I going to fund my life? And there were a handful of people that were like, but you're already getting paid to do it. Of course, like I did not make that calculation.
Yeah.
Have to bring logic to this conversation. Nobody. But I'm in this program and like something finally clicks. And then I paddle into my boss's office and I'm like, look, I'm gonna quit this job, right? And oh God, like, yes, I know.
No,
please do your work. Get out of my face. I support you. I know you're gonna quit. Go do your job. So I paddle into her office, I think in 2015 to let her know I'm a quit. And then in 2018, I quit. And so I was like, wow, all the things. And that is how the Ellevate Collective, which we used to be called the Communication Strategist. So we used to be TC. We changed to TEC, but that is how the Ellevate Collective came to be. I had to really bolster my confidence in Dorothy, right? And my self-efficacy to be able to say, yes, I'm gifting my leadership to this company, but my leadership is portable. Per Sarah Noble, biz partner extraordinaire. My leadership is portable and I can take it everywhere I go. And I could fuse that into a business and build something really successful and notable. And that's exactly what I did.
Girl, I got chills when you said my leadership is portable. That is the first mic drop moment of this episode. Holy shit. Like, how do we not sometimes realize that like our skills are portable to every area of our life? I always talk about, people constantly come on here and talk about work-life balance. How do you do it all? How do you work-life balance? Girl, you're not wearing 10 different hats. You're wearing one crown and every single jewel on that crown is just a part of your life and you take it where you go. Oh, I love that. That's so good.
That's good.
That's good.
And I love that you're telling people that you've got the one crown, right? Because I do think a lot of leaders are splitting themselves in 2, 3, 4. And like you've got your work persona and your personal persona, or your work persona, but then you've got your spouse persona, your parenting persona. Like, how can you infuse everything that you are to be the most authentic version of yourself everywhere you go?
Yes.
so that you can be consistent, coherent, congruent. So essentially, it doesn't matter where I find you, you're still you, and I'm not confused by how you're up. So I love that it's one crown, and all of the jewels represent the different facets of your life, the different stages of your life, if you will.
That's right. Absolutely. So you said like it doesn't sound like you initially had any aspirations to be an entrepreneur or business owner. Did you have an example of that in your life that you saw?
So funny enough, so this is a two-part, so hopefully I can like keep my thoughts together. So no, this was not my first foray into running a business. It's like my fourth, fifth.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to do what I did for work because that didn't seem sexy and exciting.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
my first foray into entrepreneurship was starting a talk show. So I lived in California, right? Everyone does something with media and entertainment.
How fun.
I started this talk show, and it was supposed to be designed for millennials, right? And the things that we want to think about, things that we want to talk about. So I didn't want to be Oprah. I didn't want to be Ricky Lake. I didn't want to be Jesse Raphael. Depending on how old you are, you're like, who are those people, right? But I wanted a talk show that really spoke to what millennials
were. Okay, Sally.
Yes, that's right.
I know. I am 42, fully 42, in Gen X maybe, but still, I know those people for sure. But you wanted to be Dorothy.
You are not Gen X. You are Gen Y. You are
okay, Gen Y. 42. Okay.
I want to say the oldest millennial is like 43. So
okay,
that's the oldest one. So I wanted to start this talk show. So I was meeting with my coach, and she was like, "Why don't you just write up what a talk show could be?" And then like, we'll just take it from there. That is just not the Dorothy effect. That's not how we roll. And so I literally drafted it and then turned around and executed. It was incredible. The production value was so low, but just the experience of building a team and having producers, having directors, and having makeup and hair and wardrobe, like the experience, I was like, oh no, like I gotta be doing something. So I produced the show, and something ignites within me that I'm like, this is all making sense. Because when I started in corporate, I started in corporate when I was 23. So I'd been a teacher at university level for like 2 years. And I was like, I look too young. I need to wait until I look older. And then I'm going to So when I look older, I'll be a teacher again. But for now, I look too young. So let me go get a job. So I start working at 23, and within 60 days, I was like, cannot do it. I cannot do this. I call my dad, and I'm like, bro, off the building. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't you hate it? He's like, hate what? Your job. He's like, no, I love what I do. What is happening? Like, why didn't I catch that bug? Whatever you're thinking, give me some, because I don't have that same feeling. I literally didn't like it at all. And I thought something was wrong with me. And I would spend 15 years raging against the machine, trying to get myself to be corporate. And I did okay. But I think some folks are really built for that. And I was not. So starting the talk show, I was like, there's a life outside of corporate. So it was very expensive, production value low. And then, I felt like so I shared in the beginning, like my faith is important to me. So I get saved, and God's like, start a magazine. And I'm like, okay, so this is not what I signed up for. If you're God, I practically failed journalism. I got a D. I'm devastated. It was like my first D and only D in college. And I just was like, this is a disaster. Like, why would you ask me to do something that I suck at? And the response,
but God, but God.
When I say, so
okay.
Because I know you don't like people. That's and you can't do this by yourself because you're not good at it. And I was like, okay, can I get my money back? Can I get like a refund? Can I like go back to church and rescind my offer? I don't like it.
Maybe a little negotiation here, like something. We got to fix this.
Right. Just being real bad. Like, no, I won't do it. Long story short, I did it, started the magazine, and proceeded to do it for 8 years. and learned a lot and forged a lot of amazing relationships. So that's the second business.
Nice.
Forever in the red, forever in the red, forever in debt. I really just didn't understand how to make money, and I didn't understand how to make a dollar. But what I did understand that was really important from a business standpoint was how to build relationships. This is a relationship and a network game, the end. So I got out of it what I needed to get out of it. And I really started to understand the human capital element of why you need people, because you don't go as far as the dream, you go as far as the team. So I needed to. So then the next go round was starting a writing consulting firm. I learned how to make a dollar. But what I also learned, and part of it had to do with positioning, but what I also learned is that because we all know how to write, people don't necessarily see the value in they're like, well, I know how to write. Why I got to pay you thousands of dollars to write for me? I can write for myself. And I'm like, yeah, but your writing skills are trash.
Yeah. But look at what you write down.
Right. If you don't look at what you wrote down, though, and then look at what I wrote down, that's why. But one of the things I wanted to get out of was having to educate people and like force my value upon them. So I was like, you know what? I am more of an ambivert. I'm like an introvert, but an extrovert. I'm a little bit of both. And so writing is very solid. It's very solitary. So I was like,
for sure.
So I shut that down. And then the communication strategist was born, and then sort of like shifted and put that to bed, rebranded. And here we are at the Ellevate Collective. So not my first foray, more like my fifth, but also what I found out in interviewing my mom about 2 years ago, I found out that she started her own business when she was 8.
Oh, and wow.
So, growing up, she was a fashion designer and a seamstress. And so like back in the day, like her clothes, like the stuff that she made would be in the windows at like May Company and stuff like that.
How cool.
Yes. So
oh my gosh.
Saw like an entire dress. So what most people don't know is back in the day, clothes were made in pieces. So like this person made this sleeve, this person made that sleeve, this person made the bottom, the other person made the bottom, which is why sometimes it still happens now, but that's why you needed to try on multiple size 8s because it was made and it could fit differently. But my mom was the only one who could make an entire dress by herself. And so that, because everything's like perfect, that's what you see in the window. So when her and my dad were dating, they could walk down and see her stuff in the shop windows back in the day.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. That's such a great story. Oh my gosh.
And I didn't find any of this out until I interviewed her. So I'm interviewing her because, you know, of course, one day our parents won't be here. And so I'm like, I need to know it all so that I can have this information, but so I can rewatch and like see my mommy. So she shared was like, so she learned to sew when she was 7. She taught herself, but she got so good at it that at 8, she opened up her shop at school and she was selling doll clothes to her friends. And I was like, there it is. That's why we're all like entrepreneurial. I had no idea.
Awesome.
I thought it was me being like special. Nope. It's in our DNA.
Because did your parents end up in the corporate? It sounds like your dad was in some sort of corporate situation when he said he loved his job.
Yeah. So my dad was actually an education specialist, funny enough. And I found that out after I had become a training specialist. So we had similar jobs. And so my dad was in the military for like 23 years. But then when he got out, he went into the leadership development, training and development field, which was the same thing that I was doing.
That's so funny.
Getting ready to enter into that space. So my dad and I did the same stuff.
Wow. So it's just kind of in your blood. Just sounds like it's kind of in your blood.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Oh my gosh. But still scary to take each one of those leaps. I mean, it sounds like, I love that you share, you know, this failed. I was in the red the whole time, but I learned this. And then I did this next thing. And then I did this next thing. And that's something I think so many of us, at least I, did not have the concept that I could turn around 180 degrees, pivot, and then go another direction. Because when you've committed your time to an education or a career or a job or a person or a group of people, especially down here in the South, I don't know how it is elsewhere, but we're loyal. We are some loyal people. Like, we are going to just get it done, I mean, especially our age. I mean, it's like that work ethic or whatever is just there, that you feel like you have to keep on going, even if it's painful or even if you don't like it.
Sure.
Was it difficult for you to turn and make another decision to do something else?
Yes. Like,
oh, thank God.
I mean, I feel like, so my philosophy is that the marker of a great entrepreneur is knowing when to quit and walk away. And so with the magazine, I kept it alive a little longer than I should have. And with the writing consulting firm, I put it to bed at the right time. And with the communication strategist and rebranding, that was also really good timing as well. But I feel like I learned a lot of that by having the magazine for like that 8-year time frame, doing it for so long, hitting my head repeatedly, quitting my job in the middle of it, pursue it full time just for it to blow up in my face. Like them cartoons that we used to see back in the day, they would open the present and their whole face would blow off.
Yes.
You know, like, or the anvil would bop on their head and then it would be over. That is what happened to me. And so I think that the marker is your ability to learn from your mistakes, your ability to fail as quickly as possible, fail fast, fail cheap, right? And fail forward. And so as failing, what's your frame? Because what we know is that when we talk about our failures and our mistakes with a frame that's empowering, that's when we get the most transformation. So much so that large companies and entities will manufacture failure because they know the impact on the other side is a game changer. But so often, many of us, we start to tune into failure radio. You suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, and you're the suckiest of the suckiest. That's why your life is so messed up. But really, how can we put on a different frame and look through a different lens, take accountability for our part in it, and figure out what to do next? Yes, you made this decision and it was the wrong one, but make a new decision, pivot. You are not a tree. You can move. So what's your choice? You are not trapped in your own life. You can make a different choice. You can make a different decision, even if you're afraid. And so what does that look like? What does that sound like? So that you are comparing you to you. You're not comparing Dorothy to Amy and Amy to you, but you to you. How are you transforming? How are you evolving? How are you growing? And for where you see yourself, how are you becoming that person today? So for me, it was really an evolution, but that's why I ended up writing the book, because it took me a second to learn that. Like when my whole life fell apart, when I quit that job to pursue the business full time because God told me to do it, and then it blew up in my face, I was like, whose fault is this? I'm literally looking around for who to blame because it couldn't possibly be my fault.
Right. I just did what God said to do. I mean, I'm in your will, supposedly. Where are you?
Right. This is somebody else's fault. And as soon as I find out whose fault it is, we're meeting in the parking lot at 3 p.m. and we're fighting.
That's right. Meet me by the oak tree.
That's right. Square up. Let's go.
Let's go. That's right.
As I was trying to figure out who to blame, everywhere I looked, there I was. And so I needed to take some accountability for how all of this played out. And I needed to talk about my failure in a way that would catapult me to the next thing. Because honestly, when everything failed, I was completely in debt, all the credit cards completely maxed out, no job, nowhere to live, not making my car payment. And I was like, I'm never doing this again, ever. I moved back home and my dad's like, yeah, you will. Excuse me. You're not in the running for the world's best daddy award. Why would you say that to me in my weakest, darkest hour? He's like, because you will. This is
he knows you
opportunity, right? Like, what did we learn? And so his whole thing was, I mean, I was literally licking my wounds, but his whole thing was, you're not married. You don't have any kids. You're single. You're well educated. you are competent. You can go get a job. You can go get a place. You can start making your car payments. And then you can figure out what went well about this and what caused it to just implode. When you do it again, you will do it differently. And while I just didn't want to hear anything that my dad had to say at the time, I was shocked because my parents are super foreign and super Caribbean. And so I thought they were going to like cut me out and be like, you see? And that is why you have to get a good job, Like, they didn't do any of that. They were super supportive.
So awesome.
Who are you?
Oh my gosh, like, who are you people?
That's when I realized I have like kick-ass parents. Like, they are the coolest. I had no idea how cool they were till my whole life blew up. And so he was right. I really sat down when it was time for me to quit my job again to really break down like what happened. And some of the biggest things were I did not have a plan. I thought I did, but I didn't have a right kind of plan. I didn't know how I was going to make money for real, right? Like, I didn't know how to make $1 for real because I was only used to being in the red, and then I quit my job, right? So like, I need to have more savings. I had about 2 months worth of savings. The next time I would have 6. So I really learned a lot, and I quit my job in 2018. And I haven't gone back since. It's 2023. So it's this learning, iterative, who are your people? Who's going to hype you up when things do fall apart? And how are you going to talk about what happened? When, not if, but when things fall apart, how are you going to talk about it to you?
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like you and your parents have really nailed down something that our mentor, we sponsor a mastermind for other digital agency owners, and our mentor for the next 2 years is John Maxwell. And in fact, I have a meeting with him this afternoon at 3 that I'm missing because I'm on someone else's podcast. But that man has made such a huge impact on our lives because he's talked about getting a return on that failure, getting a return on your failure. It's like an ROI for him, and getting back in that loop because you try, you fail, you redirect, and you get right back in that loop. And every time that loop goes up and up and up. And then he talks about the cap on your team being your leadership. Like, you are the cap on that team of getting a return on that failure and that investment. And you guys have got that crap figured out. Like, you've done that thing over and over and over. So
and preach a good word.
Yes. It's just so great. I'm so happy for you. That's fire.
Amazing.
That's hella good. So tell us, do what?
I need to be on your team so I can hang out with y'all and John Maxwell.
You can. Anyone can join can join our mastermind. It's not just for us. So it is open. We can talk about that later. But so tell me the kind of work you do with teams and leadership development, and what have you seen as some of the biggest barriers to their success?
Ooh, that's a good question. Also a loaded question.
Totally.
Okay, so work with teams, I would say the simple answer is when we're working with teams from a leadership development standpoint, we're usually doing it through a cohort style experience. And so what that means is we're taking a group of people at a time. So anywhere from 15 to 30 people, typically no more than 30. And we're taking them through this curated custom experience that speaks to the gaps that we're seeing and the impact that we want to have on the other side of the experience. So most cohort style experiences last anywhere from 3 to 9 months or so. And so this group of, say, 20 people are going through these custom activations. Typically, depending on what kind of cohort it is, it could be that this is happening, every month for 2.5 hours or every month for the entire day. It really just depends on what the organization is trying to do. But some people might say, well, why is this going on for so long? Whether it's an hour or it's all day long, why is it going on for 3 to 9 months? So a couple of things. Here's what happens in most organizations. Because most companies don't have the capacity to maintain something like that, they want to pull all the humans repeatedly, right? So like, everyone has to come to this program every 3 years. Same program, you got to come every 3 years for like your refresher. The program lasts all day long, or it lasts 4 days straight. We pull everybody off the floor, have them go through the program. Yay, that was amazing. That was impactful. And then we go back to work. And within about 45, 60 days, it really wears off completely because there's no sustainability, there's no anchoring. And for the most part, the programs don't build on one another. It's just the same thing. So when you go again in 2-3 years, if you even get a chance to go again, if there's bandwidth, you're still taking the same program. It is a great refresher, but there's no sustainability and anchoring. And so what do I mean by that? You're not going through with the same people. So you're not going to be in the same class to say that you're going to have that accountability built into the cohort. The learning is often rote. What does that mean? Well, you learn that 1 + 1 is 2. If that equation changes, all of a sudden, you're struggling at work, knowing that we have an agile landscape and a competitive marketplace. So we don't want the learning to be 1 + 1 is 2, because leaders have to be way more agile, more innovative, and they have to be able to expand and contract their leadership accordingly. But a few other things that come with having this cohort style experience is that you're not just focused on what's happening in the classroom. You've got the practical stuff that you're supposed to do and the transition activities and experiences that you're supposed to have in between sessions. And that coaching piece is where you're going to ignite the most transformation, because that's then making that content, taking it and making it personal. Because what Amy needs and what Dorothy needs is night and day. We don't need the same stuff. We're not facing the same problems. We don't have the same gaps in our leadership. And I need my own personal time with a coach to be able to process, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? My whole life is happening. And we just talked about this, and I don't know how that's supposed to apply in this culture. The other big piece around these cohort style experiences really speaks to cultivating competence within the culture. What organizations often also do, due to bandwidth issues, is they send Dorothy and Amy to the leadership program in Pennsylvania. And Dorothy and Amy take notes for the 3 days, come back and teach us. We go, we have a blast, we're amped. We come back to the company and we're like, let's do all of this. And our leaders are like, we can't. For this reason, and this reason, the culture cannot withstand the change. What happens to Dorothy and Amy? We start to disengage. We start to demotivate. And depending on the influence that Dorothy and Amy have, now our team is adversely impacted because we've lost quite a bit of steam because we came back ready to change. But that program in Pennsylvania did not consider our people, our culture, our goals, our bottom line, our mission, or our vision. So being able to develop these types of programs in collaboration with the leaders and those impacted are what make it sustainable and impactful. And then the transformation lasts beyond the time that we're there.
That's so good, because I don't know how many conferences, summits, whatever trainings I went to when I was still in nursing, when I was at the hospital. I mean, talk about corporations anymore. That's what it is. And that's exactly, you go and you get all like judged up, and then you come back and like, our department's not doing that, or we can't do that, or you're the only one that knows that. Or it's like, my mindset coach will tell me, like, when I have this beautiful new concept that I want to rush out and share with everybody, one, I'm usually not explaining it right. And two, those people aren't ready to receive that. That was for Amy. Quit trying to share your light with everybody. They're not ready for that. They're not there. You got a great big ego. Just calm down, sit down, take a seat.
Right.
So there's a total mismatch with what corporate America is doing and what people really need. People. We're dealing with people, not numbers and spreadsheets. These are people. If you want your numbers and spreadsheets good, develop your people, right?
Say that again.
Where's the mic? What did I say? If you want your numbers and spreadsheets to look good, develop your people.
Listen,
mic drop.
That mic drop.
I mean, it's what we've seen as the biggest impact: people, relationships. That's the two things that you've said. So I can't believe this time's going by so fast. I feel like we could talk like forever and all day, which is great. I love it. Well, let me just run down to Texas because I'm there all the time. I'll just be with you and like have coffee talk.
Happy hour. That is
That's
exactly
right. So, the book. So I can only assume this book came from your extensive work with people and going, could I please get some people to take some freaking do this business? Yeah, can we do this here? So talk to us about the book and yeah, talk to us about the book.
Yes. So this is Be Accountable and Be Fabulous. Growth looks good on you, girl. And so the book is broken down into 3 sections. So the first section is really about work. My hypothesis was that there are a lot of fabulous women walking around in pin-thin heels and pencil skirts who aren't taking accountability. And so the first section is really about what we're doing at work. How can we take more accountability? And how can we really focus on our personal accountability? What would that look like? What would that sound like? What would that feel like? And if we're not doing it, what are we so afraid of? What's holding us back and making us say, like, I am not raising my hand to say that I forgot. I'm not raising my hand to say I need help. I'm not raising my hand to say that I made a mistake. I'm just not doing it. And so kind of unpacking that and figuring out, well, where is that coming from? And I share personal stories throughout the book around reasons why I was like, I'm not being accountable. I quit. And here's all the reasons why I quit. But how can we turn our perspective? How can we circle the block and then adopt a new perspective that's actually going to help us lead more impactfully and more effectively? The second section is really dedicated to relationships, because what the research shows is that our partners like it when we have that personal accountability. It cannot be everything is their fault. Like, it's because of you. That's why I cuss you out. It's because of everything that makes you you. That's why you get on my nerves, right? But how do we take personal accountability for how we're showing up in the relationship for our family? And then the last section is about the family and friends. And so it's broken down into those 3 basic categories that I feel like a lot of our lives fall into. But the book is really about maximizing you. Accountability, I get it. It's not a sexy word. But what happens is when we can take radical accountability for who we are, who we're becoming, how we're showing up or not showing up, what we're doing or not doing, that is when we start to really see transformation. Because what we know is that discipline breeds freedom. Doesn't sound like, okay, well, if I'm disciplined, how am I free? But when we're disciplined.
You are so right. Right? I'm going to pin that to my head for the rest of whatever you're saying.
Listen.
No, it's true. I've lived it. I have lived this. I have lived this. I mean, when I got a divorce from my junior high sweetheart, we'd been together since we were 12 years old. And almost 20 years later, almost 10 years of marriage, 2 little boys, an entire relationship, and poof, he's gay. Girl, I sat in the victim seat for so long, but it wasn't until, I mean, to the point that I became an addict. And it was really bad. Like, I almost killed myself many, many, many times. I was so depressed, but it wasn't until I started taking, I just say personal responsibility, but it's the same to me, accountability, responsibility, taking responsibility for what was my part in that. I had a part in that. It wasn't my fault. No, but it was my responsibility to deal with it, to deal with me, to deal with what the hell was happening to me. I'm better than that. And looking in and going, where can I take that action? Where can I? And the little actions at first were so small. They were just walking out to my mailbox. Like, I couldn't do any more than that. But I was able to finally grasp that concept of that responsibility. And it's been uphill ever since. I mean, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I wrote the book before I got married, but then published it after I got a divorce.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Definitely some victim glasses being worn. And I just was like, I can't believe this is my life. Like, I just can't. And now I'm a single mom. I'm a baby mama. I just was like, oh my God, like, this is my worst nightmare. Like, I just cannot believe it. Like, I hate this. And funny enough, I thought about staying just so I wouldn't have to say I was divorced. I wouldn't have to mom. I wouldn't have to even contend with anybody even thinking I'm a baby mama. And I just was like, really, it just took, I felt like I just really was vacillating between like stay, go, stay, go, stay, go, even though going felt like that would have been the thing that would set me free. I just was contending with, but what's the cost? How long will it be before I feel like, oh, it was all worth it? Like how many months, how many years would that take? And to avoid that, should I just stay? Oh, but I was so mad. I was mad. I was hurt. I was resentful. I was bitter. I was just like, you lied. Because if you would have told me how you were, I wouldn't have picked you. But at the end of the day, I picked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what do you do after the picking? And for me, it was, I made a decision to say I do forever. Boom. I'm pivoting and I've decided I don't. I do not. I do not, and I will not. And we're going to co-parent this little baby, and we're going to try to figure this out to the best of our ability. And when we can't co-parent, we just going to parallel parent. Yep. That's what we're going to do.
That's right.
It cannot be that I'm resting in this victim state endlessly. Oh my God, because I just feel like because my baby was a baby when I filed, I just couldn't, I just didn't have a second to even be depressed in peace.
Yeah.
So I just had to like keep moving. But I do feel like that's also not the best place to be in, because you're just running on fumes and just surviving. You're not thriving. And so I had to do a lot of work to really heal and recover and figure out, what does life look like moving forward? And how do I give myself a new frame? And how do I have a funeral for my dream? Because my married once, have all my babies with the same man, and we
so good.
Within 2-3 years of each other at the ripe old age of 90 and 93. You know what I mean? And so
oh my gosh.
The funeral for the dream was critical so that I could let that go. And I really had to go on a journey, hell, not that long ago, like a year ago, around redefining family. Because for me, family is 2 parents and children. And so it was just me and my daughter. And I was like, we're not a family. It's just me and my daughter. That's what we are. It's me. It's a mom and a baby. It's a mom and a child. And so one of my mentors was like, well, why don't you ask your daughter who her family is and who's in it? And so my daughter she said, well, we're a family, mommy, me and you. And I was like, I guess we are.
Give that little toddler the tiara. Okay, that's so good.
And what's up. I'm going to go on this journey of redefining what family means. And now we are a tiny family of 2. Me and her.
Yeah, you are.
That's why
I'm so
powerful.
I'm so grateful for women, queen leaders like you, that are willing to stand up and say, as hard as it is when you're in that victim mode,
oh my God,
to understand that if we can just take a step forward, no one's coming to save you. First of all, nobody coming to save you. Nobody. Even God is not going to come to save you. You're going to be at sea. He's going to send a boat. He's going to send a helicopter. He's going to but he's not going to come save you. Like someone else in your life, and you have to take that action to save yourself. And when we do that, the things that open up, it's so freeing. It's so that your entire future is ahead of that scary step out of the victim and into responsibility step. And not enough people are freaking saying that.
Right. Yeah.
It's where your power is. You have to take the responsibility, because no one's going to move you forward like you will.
Exactly. And so these are decisions that we have to make. And even not making a decision is a decision. But if we look at what it means to decide, it goes with all the other sides. Homicide, suicide, it means to cut off and to kill something. So if we decide I'm moving forward, I am killing off the option to not move forward. If we decide this is going to be how I define family, I'm killing off the old way of how I define family. If we decide I'm going to be a better leader, we're killing off the leadership traits and characteristics that don't serve the leader that we're becoming, because we want to be consistent. We want to be congruent. We want to be coherent. But decide, right? That word means to kill off this stuff over here so that this thing over here can be and become. And so you're right. You are the one that you've been waiting for. No one is coming to save you. And yes, definitely do what you got to do. Say your prayers, read your word, but you still have to move your feet, and still have to move your mind forward in courageous possibility. And while you won't be perfect in performance, because none of us are, you can be perfect in position. Where are you going? And what do you need to do there?
Girl, that is so good. Oh my gosh, what a great episode this is. I cannot wait till this drops. Okay, so tell them where, if they want to be like you, accountable and freaking fabulous.
Tell them not to step down, honey. They could be better than me.
That's right. Where can they get this book and connect with you, especially if they have team leadership needs, personal development leadership needs, or just get their hands on this book to start? Sounds like a great first step. Tell us where to go, where they can get that.
So you can get the book at Barnes & Noble, you can get it at Amazon, or you can paddle over to the book website, beaccountablebefabulous.com, and you can get the book from there as well. You can also take the free quiz. When you take the quiz, you'll get your results and you'll get a checklist of a bunch of things that you can start doing right now to hold yourself more accountable day by day, week by week, month by month. So that is,
I love that.
Will be fabulous.
That's good, girls. Go over to Be Accountable, Be Fabulous and get that quiz. Let's see. I mean, I love a good action plan, because I can follow a plan. Even if I don't know what to do yet, I can follow your checklist and that can get me started, right?
Absolutely. And it's a great way to get started, especially if you're like, yikes, I don't know where to start. That checklist will help you.
I love it. Dorothy, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being everything that you are, and accountable and fabulous. And thank you for being a queen that leads.
Yes, queen that leads. We are
right.
The Queen's Lead podcast is recorded worldwide and produced by the kick-ass media team at the Height Digital home base in Nicaragua. Until our next episode, stay real, queens, and go lead. Remember to tap that follow and leave your review. For freebies and more real, inspiring content you love, go to amysingleton.net and connect with Amy on our socials at @TheRealAmySingleton.
One more thing. This is the legal language, what my lawyer wrote and what I need to read to you. This podcast is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am Amy Singleton, and I'm just your friend. Although I may speak to many on this show, I am not a psychotherapist, a business coach, a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, or probably anyone who should be giving you professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your doctor, coach, or any other licensed professional. Got it? Good. Now go be a queen and follow me at The Real Amy Singleton.